I want to put together my journey in finding out, or at least my perception that there's a good possibility that we're under military control. And I'm only going by intuition and what I saw as we were coming up to Inauguration Day. Originally, I thought that Q was. I really didn't pay it much attention. I remember hearing a friend of mine mention something about he kept posting that Hillary Clinton was going to be arrested, and I kept hearing about this Q and QAnon, and I thought nothing of it. I think, you know, if you're not in it, it looked a little crazy. I'm not really sure where it came from or what the meaning of it was. And then I started to realize, I saw the election. We saw the cheating, the tremendous cheating. At least that's what we saw if we were following it. And then, I think it really hit me when the Supreme Court decided not to see the case. And I thought this was with all the briefs that were added onto it, all the people that jumped aboard to try to be involved in this case, I was just very surprised to see that they actually didn't take the case. And that just really blew my mind, thinking to myself, how could that possibly be? And then I would see how Donald Trump actually reacted to this, and I'm seeing how the people closest to him reacted to this, and it was, I don't know, they didn't miss a beat. I didn't see anybody get scared. I didn't see anybody give up. And it took a few days after that, and I'm thinking to myself, what is this that's going on here? How is it possible? I mean, we could get sued for credit card debt from a third party lender, and we have to go to court. And you're telling me that 26 states trying to sue 6 or 7 other ones, the Supreme Court's going to decide not to see them. And so when I saw that and I saw Donald Trump's reaction, it was almost simultaneously I started to kind of tune into some of these folks that seemed to be in the know about something that it was going on under the, kind of behind the scenes. And then it really dawned on me that, yeah, you know what? Donald Trump, it seems like he came here for not just to be the president. And as a matter of fact, in an interview in 2015, a long interview, I forget the name, he had mentioned that he actually didn't want to be the president, and he was just being the president because of the disaster that Washington had become. And so, many of us that are entrepreneurs, we know that business owners and politicians just don't mix. I mean, business owners got to go out there and make money. Politicians need to sound good, play the role, and collect their money. And so we could see that was going to be a disaster from the swamp, but he always maintained that he was there to clean the swamp, drain the swamp, excuse me. And he just kept using that, even though at every turn with this election, it looked like his presidency was going to end. And something just wasn't right. And so now that we've been going further and I've been looking into and listening to other folks, I'm trying to put the dots together. And, some people think it's obvious to see that what's going on, but I would say it's not very, the only obvious thing to me, and I think I could just work off of this and just this one item, the fact that you have the military surrounding Washington, D.C., when I first saw that happen, I thought to myself, if you put a fence around my work with barbed wires, I don't care what type of excuse you use. There is no way I'm hanging around. I am out of there, period. And now that it's still there, as we're months, at least a month after Inauguration Day, I mean, I think that alone says something. But, I also want to backtrack too. When you think about the fact that Donald Trump went to the New York Military School, I'm going to put a theory together, and my theory is that they remembered him back then. And I believe that there's a possibility that they had been working with him through the years. And you think about that show he did, The Apprentice, where he got on there and he fired everybody. This is the early 2000s. And I mean, some of the people he was firing were actually working really tough. I thought to myself watching this show, there's no way I could work for this guy, man. He is really tough. I mean, he's really demanding. So after him having this amazing show for I don't know how many years it was on, I know it was more than a few, can you imagine him going into Washington, D.C. and having to look these congressmen, these senators in the face and having to listen to them and deal with them and their rhetoric and the back talks and cross talks and then watching all the corruption. And what I really liked about Trump was I was expecting he was going to run this country similar to a business. And he could have got rid of almost every single one of them. Julian Assange was quoted as saying if they found out all the corruption in Washington, D.C., they'd have to get rid of 98% of the Congress people. And so Trump never really wanted to be president. I believe he was called in for this mop-up effort going on here. And so, you could also look at the other side and you take a look at Biden. And, it just dawned on me today. Biden, I never watched the guy. I can't think of one thing he's done or one thing he ever said. I mean, he was Obama, whoever Obama was in reality. I mean, I think most Americans never even heard of him before he started running for presidency. But then you got Joe Biden, which, again, most Americans never heard of. Now I hear, he's been in the Senate. He's been in government for 47 years. Wow, you want to talk about the most quietest 47 years. But if you just think back a few years ago, when Biden was, he'd have a gaffe here or there. And I'm identifying maybe a year and a half ago or so, maybe not even that long, maybe just a year ago, I don't know. When the truth comes out, I'd be interested in when actually he disappeared and was replaced with, I like to call it a test crash dummy. Because what happened was, I think they've been overdoing it with the gaffes. I don't think he was that mentally incapable. And so when the test crash dummy became Biden, it was a real big exaggeration on gaffes. And I thought I didn't know this up until, I don't know, maybe a couple months ago as I started to follow this underground truther group. And there's many names out there. I'm not going to name them. They're easy to find. You go on BitChute, you'll find them. They seem to get banned from YouTube. Some really cool people. And I think maybe some of these people are getting some information, but nobody's getting all the information. Nobody's going to give you all the information. You're going to have to find out yourself. You're going to have to wake up yourself. But when I realized that, wow, this guy Biden, he like the things he says are ridiculous. Nothing really makes sense. Even when he even comes close to making sense, it's political rhetoric. But over the past few weeks here, we've actually been seeing him saying things that I start rolling on the floor laughing. He said we have 100 million vaccines for 300 Americans. And then he went on to say, I want to repeat, this is very important for me. 100 million vaccines for 300 Americans. And what I think is happening here, I think we're being slow fed because some people are very, very asleep. We're being slow fed for at some point. I don't know when it's going to be. I don't, when I hear people talk about dates, when I hear people talk about dates that are in the Constitution and all that other stuff, I just, all I could say is, I don't think anyone knows when. I think this is being told to us in a very subliminal kind of manner. I think people are, I don't think they want to give people heart attacks. That's why these, I thought eventually, well, the lights are going to go on. Okay, show's over. This never was really a government. We're in a shadow government. And I just don't think the American public would ever be ready for something like that. Although they will be ready to have some sort of change, because it looks like they're turning Biden into, they're moving him into complete foolishness now. I mean, it's beyond gas. He's calling people racists. He's messing up numbers by hundreds of millions. He's flat out lying. He's making a statement one day. The same day, he'll make a statement, then he'll make another statement. So I'm just going to sit back and watch this show. I'm as interested as everybody else in what's going to happen. I'm going to take everything that everyone says with a grain of salt. And I'm going to pray and I'm going to hope that finally, possibly, this is an unthinkable task that Donald Trump took on. And I wasn't really a big Donald Trump fan. I grew up in New York, so he was always the big, bad, bully, rich guy who was discriminating against people and putting up towers on the West Side Highway, blocking people's views, bankrupt casinos in Atlantic City. And now it's starting to come to me, maybe they knew a little bit about who he was or who he could be going into the future. And the tearing down of Trump through the media started much earlier than we thought. Anyway, hang in there. There'll be more to come. I'm keeping faith. Whether it doesn't matter what's really going on, it's all up to us. We need to make that change. We need to have our spiritual awakening, our great awakening. We need to keep freedom of speech, open up our mouths. To think the free speech movement started at Berkeley, that's a joke. You try to go to Berkeley and say the wrong thing, you'll be canceled immediately. All right, take care. Bye.